this episode, we are full on spoilers for both the books and the show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey there, I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger.
Hi, I'm Oliver's Ears.
G'day, I'm WoToholic Aussie.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, YouTube channel that reviews adaptation from one format to another. We are coming close to the season finale of season 4 of The Expanse. We are covering episode 8, The One-Eyed Man. Originally aired, I believe, with all the others of this season in November of 2019, November 12th. Written by Dan Novak and directed by Sarah Harding. It's The One-Eyed Man. I think the title's pretty obvious where that comes from. So, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing excellent.
I'm still
Great.
breathing, so we'll count it as a win.
That is a win. What'd you gentlemen think of this particular episode? Who wants
I liked
to
it.
take a shot? You liked it, Ben?
Yeah.
There were aspects I loved, and then there were a whole lot of things I liked.
Okay.
So,
Good way to put it.
yeah. I mean, overall, I liked the entire episode, but there were things I liked, and then there were a couple things I loved. I mean, some of those moments between Holden and Amos's really good.
Yep.
Really good.
And
Just
Amos and
beautifully
Wade.
done.
And I have
Yeah,
some things.
same.
I have some other things I'm going to focus on that I thought were very, very good as well.
All right. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. So, anybody want to start off with changes that you liked or disliked and may have affected your enjoyment one way or the other? Mitch?
Changes. Yeah.
You got a change that stands out for you?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it a change?
I love it. Well, other than my typical gripe, no Havelock. I thought in several ways they followed the book much more closely than they usually do in the series. So I was kind of, it was kind of nice to see them fall back into that. It was just a few things, but I thought it was kind of nice. Some things are out of order, but they always are.
You're right.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
Well, I think that like this season's darker than previous seasons have been. And I mean, this has been talked about in the earlier chapters. In the books, it's all on the planet. Whereas in the show, they're using Earth and Mars as counterpoint. It might be that they're taking from a later book when they do it, but I really like the explanations that we got from Bobby's boss about why would you terraform Mars anymore?
Yeah.
It's going to take 100 years, and there's 1,000 planets out there.
Yep.
So I really like getting that perspective. And obviously it's a change. The doctor's on the ship instead of Basra, who's not even her husband in the show. But that relationship between families, the Belter family, with one wanting to go back to study, it's good that that's still there, even though it's different.
Yeah. What'd you, Bill? Any changes that stood out that may have affected your enjoyment?
I mean, other than
That
what
you
they've
wanna point
mentioned, not really. I mean, like Mitch said, this has been pretty on par with the book for the most part. This episode in particular. I really enjoyed the golden slug goo. It made me happy. It was just creepy, and I liked it. So yeah.
Now, they didn't make any mention of it in the show, but in the books, I thought it was kind of funny that LV had called the the green stuff in the eyes, Skippy.
Skippy. Yes, Skippy.
I thought that was
I
fun.
love that name. I always got a kick out of that. Yeah, I really liked seeing all the stuff. I think I've said this, but all the stuff on Mars and on Earth, I always enjoyed. When I watched the show first, so I didn't know that none of that was from the books. And I learned that when I read the books. But I've always enjoyed keeping Avasarala in the story, and I think it, like you said, Mitch, it's a counterpoint to what we're getting on Illis. It's building off of what we see on Illis, and it's giving us a perspective. It's putting Illis or New Terra, if you prefer, a bit more into perspective for what it overall means to humanity. And not just with Mars or with Earth, but also with Mars. And the way it's that ring gate opening, somebody even says it in the episode that Mars died the moment the rings open.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is. Why would you bother trying to terraform this world? So what if you've been working on it 300-400 years to terraform it? Why would you continue when it's going to take another century to even just be barely habitable on the surface? When at a much cheaper cost, you can send people out amongst the stars. Mars has no real purpose anymore, I don't think. I mean, it might be a good industrial place to do industry because you're not really worried about it destroying an environment. But other than that, I really don't see why. I don't blame any Martian who's leaving Mars. I don't blame them one bit.
No.
And
Well, and it's interesting that Bobby has, she never thought of that until she spoke with, oh God, name
her
escapes me.
DOL, her
Say
doll,
again?
dick on legs, her doll, her dick on legs.
No.
Esai Martin.
Esai, thank
Okay,
you.
Esai.
Yeah, Esai Martin.
When she went to his place, and I love how embarrassed she looked when a woman answered the door, and it's the wife, and I don't know. Did you guys notice that when she went into the apartment, on the wall behind her and Esai, you had the children's drawings just as you put up on a refrigerator. I thought that was a great little touch.
I like that. And if you look, you'll see one of them has red land, but a blue sky, which is what a child's imagination would say. Expect Mars to look like 100, 200 years from now.
Or they saw Total Recall.
Yeah, but total. Yeah, it might be a popular movie on Mars for all we know. They might have Total Recall Day.
God, I haven't seen that in ages.
I've seen that. I think about 10 years ago was the last time I saw it around the time that the remake came out because I saw them within a week of each other.
Oh, I wasn't even aware there was a remake.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Yeah, it's got Colin Farrell. It's not real great.
No.
I thought the episode had. So we had Eli and Bobby. We had Drummer and that situation. We had like the UN situation and the husband being. At one point, he said, everything you said today was a lie. And she said, well, not the bit about our son, actually.
Yeah.
But he was upset that she mentioned their son. So
I think she was right.
One of the few times I agree with you. In all of those cases, we're getting a different perspective that we don't get in the book as to what's happening on the inner planets and the belt.
Right.
But it gets you excited because you just know that the old pirate's going to go out swinging. You know that drummer's going to do something. So there's a lot happening there. You know, like in each place, there's a lot moving forward. So it keeps surprising me how similar they are. Like you get lines in the show. I think drummer says, I don't drink when I'm angry.
I'm angry. Right.
Yeah, what is it?
She
I
doesn't
drink
drink
when
when
I'm angry, not when I'm sad. And I can hear drummer say that in the book. It's like the same person from the book as says that in the show. It's believable across it. Or when you get Amos saying, "Have we got a plan?" Like you can read that line in the book and then imagine the character on the show saying that exact line. So in that sense, they've got the character's cadence and language right. It's a change that I've noticed in this season is they're using the belter language a little bit differently, where there's just a couple of words splattered into a sentence.
Right.
And if you get two belters together, there's more of it.
Yeah. And you could really see that when she and Ashford meet on a ship. That's really evident there. And not so much when they had their long conversation overlooking the bowels of the behemoth there.
Yeah, but they did
By the way, I wrote in my
handshake
notes,
thing.
drummer looking at the drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that. I
Drummer
realized that when I
looking
wrote
at the drum.
drum. Well, that's what they called it. Spin up the drum when they did that in season 3 and in book 3. They called it the center spinning part the drum.
I know, but I just thought it was funny that you said drummer looking at the drum.
Watching the drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, drummer watching the drum. I saw that in my notes and I'm like, okay.
That works.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, well. I was going to bring up something and I totally slipped my mind.
Well, what did you like about the show?
Well, I said that I really do like the all the stuff that's getting away from Illis, since my least favorite part of this book in season is everything on Illis. Being away from Illis is great, and that's actually my favorite stuff in these episodes. I just wish the stuff that we got off of Illis included more in orbit. You know, like you and I both agree, we miss Havelock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really miss Havelock in this season. But yeah, I mean, those changes I am fine with. You know, people sometimes think that I dislike changes. I dislike changes that don't make sense, or that are changes just because somebody wants to change something.
Well, they
without
don't make
getting
sense.
into specific.
They don't make sense to you. That doesn't make them not make sense to the person who's making that decision, because we can't see the future.
And when
So,
we do, I'll be able to say
benefit of the doubt. Well, how about you give them the benefit of the doubt is my point.
I did before season 1. And I got shoved shit in my face for that.
No, you really didn't. And that's the thing. You're taking this way too personally to sit there and whine and cry about the Wheel of Time because you care about it more. I get that. However, whine and cry about it instead of giving it a shot, you're just closing yourself off. That's on you, buddy. You chose that.
Right.
You chose that.
I've been giving it a shot.
Say this. Is this the right venue to have this discussion, guys?
It's always the right venue.
Yeah.
Look,
where's my question list?
In the books, there are all these classical illusions. The names of the books. We're talking 15th century Leviathan, Shakespeare, Old Testament Bible. Like, here we go. This is throw the references. In the last couple of chapters, we had Holden use a lever episode, sorry. We had Holden use a lever to save the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Give me a lever and I'll move the world.
Archimedes.
Hemlock
that
was
out, man.
mentioned.
Yes.
Hemlock was mentioned. Science, talking of cyanide, and she said no, but I've got
Last
hemlock.
episode. Yeah.
And in this one, Holden probes his own eye with a needle, which is something that Newton famously did.
It's needling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
He
to
does
do
with
with
the
him
needle
discovering
in.
how light works in prisms. Newton was a lunatic, but clever one. So
Right.
they keep having these little things in the show that kind of allude to the classical and clever, I think,
Right.
nature of what the books are trying to have illusions of history in it, which is kind of Jordan-esque, just to get us back to Wheel of Time, which is what we were talking about.
Right.
Oh no, let's not get started with Wheel of Time. We'll be
Right.
here all night.
Yeah, we will.
Right.
After
So,
this week.
all right,
oh,
let's move on to favorite scenes or bits of dialogue. Did
Oh,
anybody
okay.
have any?
Glenn, I thought we were talking about what we liked.
Okay, if you still have more, we can go back.
Well,
We can
yeah.
stay there.
Yeah, and just some sort of technical techno babble here. The tether that's being used to tie the Rossi and the Barba Piccolo together. In the show, it's made of mining nets. In the books, it's actually, and every Martian ship has it. It's actually a cable that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Another thing is just on the timing thing I was talking about. In the books, Elvie figures out it's the oncocytals that is protecting Holden much earlier in the whole sequence of events than and less dramatically than what we get in the show.
Right.
And my other big note on that was this is different. The timing of the attack on the Rossi. In the books, that too occurs much earlier. It actually occurs while everyone still has their eye problems, as opposed to something that Mercury puts into motion shortly. So I just want to point out some of the timing issues where we have changes from the books to the show itself.
Actually, the attack on the Rossi, if you mean the shuttle that was shot at them that Alex blew up to smithereens, that's way later. That's way after where we're at in the show right now, where we would be at in the equivalent in the book. That's almost to the end of the book because it's one of the last things that happens in space. What you're dealing with here at this time would have been the escape from the Edward Israel and the militia chasing them from the Israel to the Rossi. That's the attack you're thinking of. I think you might be thinking of that would happen around this time or earlier.
Yeah, actually, the shuttle attack occurs earlier as well. So it's just that the shuttle attack and the eye issue, the timing is reversed between the two of them. That's all.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Anybody else get all squeamish and have to look away when he was checking his eye?
Nah.
Yes.
Did anybody else? No.
Yep.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. That
Not
just
happening to me.
I normally don't mind needles, but a needle into the eye.
Yeah, I don't do eye stuff, man. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. I can handle watching a needle anywhere else, but not the eye. That's just too much.
I've got a favorite line.
Okay.
There's a moment. Everybody's blind. Ware comes up and talks to Amos, and Amos talks about his childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And Ware has this look of sympathy, empathy, and she says, people like us deserve a say in how we go out.
Yeah.
I had that written down too.
And I thought that, one, she says that like, that's a good thing to say to someone who's sharing. And two, yeah, no, she had a shared similar something experience of childhood trauma. I thought the actor did fantastic job just in that little scene in the dark, as it were, both blind and uncertain.
And we had brought up in the last week or two about some of our characters opening up and talking about, what's going on, particularly, Naomi when she was talking with,
The doctor.
Lucia,
Okay.
talking with Lucia.
Yeah.
And here you had Amos. He wasn't specific, but talking about having nightmares in the dark. And then when he woke up, it was dark. And that's when they came. That was just,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a degree of creep factor there. And I think he could have been a little more creepy about it and make it, just kind of sink in for the audience. But yeah, I found it interesting that we had another case where one of our main characters opens up to somebody else.
And the one who normally wouldn't open up anytime.
Yeah.
Amos is the most closed person.
Well,
there's a line that go ahead.
I was going to say, I think he actually opens up to Holden a little bit more here too. And we see Holden open up to him. I mean, I can't do this without you. That's not something that Holden from a season ago would admit to Amos ever.
Right. And Amos a season ago would never have opened up like he did in this episode.
Exactly.
Twice in this episode.
Only to Naomi.
Well, he opened up to Way in this episode, and he opened up to Holden in this episode. He's opened up to Naomi in the past, but I would not be surprised if even in the books, Holden knows more about Amos's past than she does, because we don't really see him tell her anything in the books. He's we've got reason to believe he has in the books told Holden, because Holden says he knows more about Amos than he really wanted to, or knows enough about Amos. So we get from Holden that Amos has shared with him, not exactly what was shared, but that something was. I really go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think Amos must be universally loved. My wife just started The Expanse a couple of days ago. She's already caught up to us on the season. She's been watching all day, every day, and she's like, Amos is the best. I'm like, I know.
Have you told her his nickname?
No.
Their nickname, Murder Snuggles.
I'm waiting until she gets fully caught up to me and we can watch them together to sort of share some of the information with her.
Gotcha. There's a line that I absolutely loved. Thanks for hating your parents. You might save us all from being fucked.
Yes.
The cat, one of the crew members of the Barbara Piccola talking to Thalstia.
Yep.
As they're getting everything set up, and I loved that line. It cracked me up. It was a good scene itself, but I do wonder if there's not more crew members on the Barb in the show that actually have more experience doing what they've got Thalstia doing outside. She's a 15, 16-year-old kid, not quite 18. I know in the book there's a larger population on the Barb. That Barbara Piccola has a large crew, over 100 people.
I don't know. I fully expected that cable to snap her in half. I expected it to snap, recoil back, and cut her in half. I was waiting for it to happen. I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen. Okay, good. Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that had me on the edge of my seat going, oh my God, this is going to be gnarly.
I thought the gantries were going to bend at least.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
I
see
didn't
that
even know what a
happening.
gantry was until she called that a gantry. I mean, I've seen the word, but I just never like
Uh,
associate it with like visually associate it with what something
mhm.
looks like. And that was the first time I've ever actually, in 50 years, connected the word gantry with something physical. And I'm like, okay.
Uh,
Just
Well,
never,
typically they'd be much larger. I mean, you see them
yeah.
at ports of and all that all the time.
See,
Um,
I've never seen a port. Never
okay.
noticed on a port. I've seen
Yeah,
video of ports, footage,
I'm
but
by
never been at one. Never,
I'm by Cape Canaveral, so I see it all the time.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now, I did have an issue with this particular little segment. Uh, the mass of that cable. Okay. Granted, you're weightless in space. Everything still has mass. It takes energy to move it. You've got an 800-meter long cable that looks like it's about 2.5, 3 inches in diameter. Nobody, girl, boy, I don't care. Nobody's going to grab that and start hauling it along and feeding it through and pulling it. That's not going to happen.
It
And
still had the momentum forward and inertia from when the
it
drone
wouldn't
carried it
it wouldn't
across.
matter that if you had
It's
any
the
momentum.
hard part would be stopping it. That would be the hard part. She would have had to have stopped it. That's where the physics is wrong. Not so much
Yes.
that she pulled it too easily, is that she wouldn't have been able to stop it because there would have been too much momentum.
Well, she wouldn't
But
be
it's
able to
science
pull.
fiction.
Okay. Yeah.
It was
My
still
my
moving
point is the mass is just too great for any one person to maneuver it around, either pull it, stop it,
or stop it.
even move it side to side. The mass is just too great.
Yeah,
This
even
is
if
one
it's
of the
carbon
few
nanotubes.
places. Yeah, it's one of the few places I think they had to stretch the rules
But
because typically they're very good about it.
Yeah.
yes, they are.
Typically, they're
Yes.
okay about science.
There's not so much zero gravity stuff going on because that's costly to film and things like that. So they use on the Rossi, everybody's walking around in the boots that stick to the ground, that sort of thing. There's no half gravity versus like it's either on or like. So they are doing it differently in the show to in the books, I think, Mitch.
Yeah.
And so they're playing on the fact that in space the cable's going to weigh less to explain it, but that's
Here's my
not
thing.
a
This is a
Well,
show
it does.
about a substance that was created by ancient aliens and shit like that. The least of my worries is how did she get that cable over there? I don't even think about that shit because I'm looking at the big picture going, we got fucking alien goo we need to deal with, folks. Get on the damn
Right.
ball. I don't
Yep.
care about the inertia of a fucking
I didn't even
cable.
think
I
about it
just don't care.
until Mitch brought up. Until Mitch brought it up, I hadn't thought of it.
No,
but-
it's a valid point. It's just one of those things. I don't think about
Yeah.
that. I'm so invested in everything else that's going on story wise that
Yeah.
those little details don't bug me as much as they bug some
See,
people. And I get they do
I
bug
actually
people
kind of object.
sometimes.
I have seen a lot of people refer to this series, both the TV show and the books, as being accurate hard science fiction. And
I
no,
disagree
not
wholeheartedly.
at all. Yeah, I fully disagree. It is not
Yeah,
hard science
no.
fiction at all. Proto-molecule shit right there throws everything hard science fiction out the window. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think
alien technologies appearing as magic.
That's not
I think the
hard
closest
science
we
fiction.
came was The Martian. I mean, just about all the science on The Martian,
Mhm.
the movie is 100% legit. Almost all of it. The storm on Mars, that is not possible.
Yes.
Right.
I
No,
give you that.
the storm is possible, but the force of the storm is
No, that
negligible.
storm in particular is not possible. A dust storm, yes, but that one that was blowing that strong is not possible.
Yeah,
There's
the
not enough
wind is
atmosphere to
not
create
dense
that.
enough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
No storm on Mars is ever going to blow a human being 20 feet.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Getting
don't
away
even
from
think they'll have
things
one knocked it off.
getting away from things I didn't like. I have a
Okay.
few things that I popped out at me. I'm just going to run through them real fast.
Yeah.
Avasarala's memorial speech, Bobby's frustration at Thomas leaving when she throws the beer can at the end.
That's his name. Thank you. I didn't know his name.
Yeah. Lily, that little dig that she has to Bobby about, hey, I'll take 1/3, or 1/3 is better than 1/4. I thought that was a nice little dig. You know, she's been wanting to get one in for a while. A funny bit, and I hope you guys pick this up right after Holden admits that he's been taking the drugs for cancer, and LB reaches for his arm, and he thinks she's trying to express sympathy, and he says no, and or thank you or something like that, and she says no, I want to feel the patch. I want to make sure that's there. I thought that was a funny little bit.
It was a nice, it was funny.
Yeah. Then I had Amos opening up to Wade. So I just wanted to point those out. The Lily dig and the Holden thing, those are kind of quick things. But Elvis Aralo's memorial speech, I thought that was
she
brilliant.
wrong? Do you agree with her or Arjun? Was she wrong to bring Chandrapal's death into that? Chandrapal's death, her son?
No, because I think she meant every word of her speech. I think that was genuine.
Yes,
in fact,
I agree.
She then turned around and released that footage has nothing to do with what she said during that funeral.
Right.
Yeah.
I got
and she went off
nothing but
script.
honesty from it.
When she was when she was standing there giving, you could see what she was supposed to say on the teleprompter in front of her, and she went totally off script to share that.
Yeah.
Ben, do you think she was right in saying that?
Well, we'll see whether she wins the election.
Talking about her son, or do you agree with Arjun about that?
I think I don't agree with him. No, he wasn't expecting her to do it. She reached
to be
out,
fair, she wasn't expecting to do it. So
right.
Mm-hmm.
She reached out with a common thing, like, yes, we lost our son as well, type thing. And that's personal, and that's tied up in their history and that sort of thing. So he was angry. And then, and leaking the footage of what happened was the correct thing to do, probably whether you were in an election or not. So, but he wasn't angry about that. He was angry about her mentioning their son.
I love the interaction where he's like, I thought you said you didn't want to unnecessarily scare the world. And she said, I didn't. This was necessary. And I'm like, she's not wrong.
Well, it's the reality. Like, imagine if we found this and then we sent people out and then the world's one by one just exploded or something. Like, so caution and exploration and, and it's not entirely dissimilar. The time of travel, say in the 1500s, 1600s, the conquistadors coming across to America, it took months of travel to get there, like it does to travel. Now they sent, 3 ships with Columbus. They didn't immediately then, he came back and they didn't then launch 10,000 ships. They waited and explored, and it took centuries to build up until the great immigration of the 1900s to the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a way, I get that the Belters see a way out of the resource scarce existence that they have with air and water in the like, and the Martians see an opportunity to jump the queue and not wait another 100 years. And Earth, obviously, it's got population pressures. We get the information about it being 1 in 6,000 people that was selected, and so there's real competition on Earth for opportunity, and we really only see the rich side of Earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see Amos's birthplace. We don't see, like there's. I think we've seen a little bit of Holden's childhood.
We saw Bobby go to Earth. We saw Bobby explore New York City, and she met some of the people that were living homeless, living on the streets, down by the and when she ran away and escaped to go see the ocean. And she met that guy who taught her how to deal with seeing the horizon being much further away, and that this open sky, the vertigo that similar so we have seen it, but we haven't seen it as much. But when do we really see the world's poor in most TV shows and movies, especially science fiction?
But it gives very good reasons for each of the three groups to want to just get through this ring and go.
I don't find the Belter reason logical. Half of them aren't going to be able to do anything on a new planet because they're not going to be able to survive it. So what is your ultimate? I mean, what is your ultimate gain in going to these new planets? You can't go in orbit. I mean, you can't stay in orbit the whole time. You got to go ground side eventually. And when you do, more than half of them are going to die.
Yeah, particularly when there are no resources in these new worlds in the first place. They have to go back through the gate to resupply or whatever.
Well,
right.
Well,
I do question that.
The settlers that are there were Belters.
Yeah, but
right. But only a few of them
there are
survived.
The drugs that you can take.
Yeah, and only a few of them survived on the planet. The rest of them had to stay up on the Barba Piccolo.
In the book,
well, there's that too. That's an option. Yeah, you might be better off.
Go down.
Sorry, Glenn.
Yeah, but not only do the Belters have that problem, because in the belt, everything, according to the books, everything is spun up to 1/3 G, which is exactly what they have on Mars. So the Martians have the exact same problem because they only have 1/3 G. And the people who grew up on the moon are even more fucked because they only have 1/6 G. And we forget about those inners. We forget about the people on Luna who are even more whacked physiologically than the Belters are from the even less lower gravity they have on Luna.
Now, I was under the impression
the only people who easily could go would be Earthers. Yeah. And they're the planet that needs to be evacuated the most because there's 50 billion people on Earth at this point in the series.
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 40 or 50 billion.
Now, I was under the impression that there's many more of the Belters who never go to a well than there are who are in a well.
No, it's a smaller percentage. It's a small percentage don't adjust to the medication to the drugs.
Well, no. I'm not talking about the medication at this point. I'm talking about the Belters as a community. You've got some on Ceres, some on Pallas, some on others, and each one of these are going to go
down the well.
Yeah, and each one of them is going to have a different G that they're exposed to. But I was always under the impression that the vast majority of Belters were basically always shipside, might occasionally even go onto a station or something.
No, most of them are going to be on stations because most Belters are on stations, whether it's Ceres station, Aero station, whatever, Palace or whatever. And it's not the gravity of those physical bodies that they have. All the gravity they've got is spin gravity.
Yeah,
All
we
those
know.
stations are on. Yeah, well, they've built inside the rock, so it's not the gravity of Ceres that's pulling them in. It's the exact opposite. They're being pushed out.
Right.
But yeah, most belters live on a station. You know, many spend as much of their life on a ship as anywhere else. But yeah, they mostly are going to be on a station.
Do you remember the
I can
beginning?
argue that in an infinite universe that's beyond the ring, it's not infinite, but there will be planets with 1/3 gravity but breathable atmospheres. So
Yeah.
maybe the builders are looking for those ones. I mean, yeah, like I'm just
I can accept that.
Yeah, and
That makes a little more sense than let's go to the planets we can't actually go to. That just doesn't
Yeah.
compute to me.
well. Then
Well, there is
you're
a
looking at
concern.
generational reasons. You'd have to say, I'm doing this so my kids don't grow up in an oxygen-starved, water-starved belt. We're going to have a planet and a future and opportunity for future generations, which most people don't think that way. So that,
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of curious
Illis has
that
just over
Drummer
1G,
had,
by the way.
yeah, Drummer had one or two episodes ago talked about the fact that inners who go to these planets in 2 generations, they won't be inners anymore, or they won't be belters anymore, I should say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you will lose the belters as a society, not as a a race or
within
anything, but as a society.
There's always going to be people living in the belt and the outer planets in the solar system. You're always going to have belters. Just because they have somewhere else to go doesn't mean all of them are going to go. There's always need for somebody to work at those stations. Because there's a lot of industry that are being done at these stations. That's why there were people there in the first place. Because I'm the guy who says that you should not be allowed to have kids on a space station with less than 1G, because that's child abuse. And what's been done to every generation of belters since the beginning was child abuse. And they're only going to get away from it when they stop raising kids in 1/3 or less G, where the human body needs 1G or more to survive. And I think any gravity less is, that's why I consider gravity a resource that they're scarce on. They're scarce on gravity.
Okay,
We do
they
know
obviously
that.
have a means of increasing gravity on the station, right?
Yeah, they do, but they
My
didn't.
question is, why don't they microtech that up over a long period of time and allow them people to adjust? That's my question.
I would think with something like Ceres Station, they could do that. Even though it was made clear, at least in the books, that the amount of energy to do so was just so tremendous, it was ridiculous. You get to something like Fred Johnson's station, Tycho. It was probably designed for the amount of spin that it has. And for its size, if you increase the spin to increase the gravity, you might start, people might start suffering from vertigo, which would
because your
commonly
feet
happen.
would be at a different. We have to have a really big O'Neill cylinder or von Braun ring for to have spin gravity work without causing sickness, because it's quite possible for your head to be at one rotation speed while your feet are at a significantly different speed. And that they've found that does mess up the human body, the equilibrium.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't see any reason. Okay, yeah, it's more expensive to spin it up to full gravity. But if you're going to be having people living on this place, working on this place, and raising families on this place, you better spend that energy.
I think
Otherwise,
I think you'll find that it's an exponential cost. It's not a linear cost.
Probably, yeah.
So to get it up to 1G takes like into the 18. whereas to get it to 75% G, yeah. So if it's exponential in its costs, then you just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it
Otherwise-
is. I don't think it
Huh?
is. Once it actually hits the 1G, maintaining it isn't going to cost you any more than it did to get it up to that speed. So it's not exponential. It's not going to keep growing. It is going to
Well,
stop
then-
at that 1G price.
Then it begs Glenn's question of why they didn't do it.
That because it's cheaper not to. They're dicks. That's it.
Exactly.
That's the whole reason. There's no
Yeah,
other
but
scientifically. There's no other reason.
But the Earth trade representative is going to have one at 1G because he's a dick and he can afford it. Like I get Glenn's point. I do understand your point as well, Bill. But yeah, it's a question about the builder's existence after the ring. The ring changes everything.
But this is
Mhm.
how
And
you
it'll
prepare
change
your
the
people to
filters
go to
perhaps
those
most
planets.
of all.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bill?
And Bill,
This
yeah,
is how you prepare your people to go to the planets. You
Incrementally.
absolutely
Yeah.
incrementally increase their gravity until they're able to internally adjust. Once they can, okay, now we can start taking applicants for going to planet P, whatever,
Yeah.
P51.
and do that with
from
the
Star Trek
drugs, with
Universe.
the gravity drugs too.
Yeah.
Do that with the
Mhm.
gravity drugs in as well. As
Yeah, they'd
painful
have-
as that shit is, I mean, we saw how painful it was for Naomi to get those gravity drugs, and it's talked about in the books as being painful. It's still worth it. But
Yeah.
apparently, I was just Googling, and I didn't have the time to completely check the math on it. But I found a Reddit thread that was talking about what kind of math it would take, to spin Ceres up, and apparently spinning it up to 1/3 gravity inside would actually cause Ceres to rip apart. The station, the asteroid itself.
There was
So
that
even
aspect as well, yeah.
So even in the show, what they've got is impossible. Supposedly, I haven't read the entire thing, the article, the entire thread on Reddit, but I was just looking real quick.
But yeah,
Um,
if you're serious about
but-
getting your people out into the universe, that is the kind of investment for a facility that can handle that you want to build.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So,
and and if you're not going to build it up, build it spun up to a 1G or close to 1G for the people who live and work there, then you just flat out don't allow people to stay there if they're pregnant. You send them back down the well if they get pregnant. If you're a woman on an aircraft carrier or a naval vessel for any country on this planet and you get pregnant on ship, they send your ass back to land.
Yeah, but
with so if you're an
by the
astronaut,
time,
we're not going to
by
let you
the time
see
they
international
by the
school.
time they found out they were pregnant and got put back to the well that have had the baby because of how long it takes to travel.
I just don't think there should be well, either that or you don't have permanent people residing somewhere like that.
If you put people out there for long periods, they're going to have children. However you feel about that, Glenn, is slightly different to the fact that they're going
But
to
you
have.
can minimize it by criminalizing it or making it against regulations for whatever company hires them to go there in the first place.
That's not going to stop it happening.
How many people have been knocked up in Antarctica, I wonder? And what did they do when those women got pregnant
In
down in Antarctica?
Antarctica, you generally go for a maximum of 6-month deployment.
6 or 12 months. It's always 6. I know people who've done Antarctica several years in a row.
Yeah,
And they were there for
it's
6
right next to us,
months
Glenn.
and then 12 months. And then 12 months.
It's right next to us. I don't know of anyone that stays in Antarctica for all 12 months. Most come off the thing itself during winter. Certainly Australians do. So that doesn't mean that
I would do a year.
some stay. Yeah, but you wouldn't get pregnant.
No, I wouldn't.
Right.
I'm lucky that in that route. The only thing I would suck is I wouldn't have my weed. I'd be sober for like 6 months to a year. I'd have to drink
The only
alcohol
continent on
if
the
I want to get
planet
intoxicated.
I'll drink to that.
doesn't have it.
Alcohol, yes.
If we can go sideways for a short bit, Winter's Lady had posted in the chat. She said, like the Nauvoo, the Mormons had it realistically planned, referring to something we were talking about earlier. That just brought a thought to my mind. Could you imagine if the Mormons had actually launched? They had burned for however long they were going to burn, let's say 3-4 months, to get up to a substantial percentage of the speed of light, shut off the drive and spin up the drum so they can head to where they're going, only to discover after they've left that the rings have appeared and they could get somewhere else in a hell of a lot less time. Wouldn't that have been embarrassing for them?
Be like, yeah, this will take 10 days as opposed to 100 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Winter's Lady had posted that, and it just popped into my head that would have been a funny thing to have had happen in this universe.
Yeah, there's only one realistic way I can see you stopping people from getting pregnant on the space station. You would have to sexually segregate the two completely.
Oh, that'll work.
You would have to. You would have to limit their exposure
I'm not gonna say that.
extremely. Wow. That's the only surefire way to do it. And I'm not comfortable with that. So
I'm not saying eliminate. I'm saying reduce. And then when somebody does get pregnant, then there's not just the woman, but the guy who knocks her up should have to pay financial fine.
Dystopian authoritarian regimes restricting people's
who knew the hippie? Who knew the hippie was a freaking dictator?
Yeah,
pregnant.
The hippie is a dictator, man.
Yes.
Hey, Glenn. This is why we're not in charge.
Yeah.
No, the people with the money are in charge, and the people with the money do not care.
Generally.
And that's one thing that this book, generally, that's one thing this book series really clearly shows, is that the people with the most money, like the big corporations that ran all these stations to begin with, did not give a shit.
Well,
and they still don't give a shit. That's why belchers behave the way they do, because they're tired of nobody giving a shit about them. That's why Fred Johnson gave up on Earth and went and took on the role of being a belter for himself. I'm not saying I agree with them all the time, because they piss me off. But I don't think. I think I don't know. I don't know how to put it any way other than what I've already said 100 times.
But Glenn, the books tell us in the titles, Leviathan wakes. The Leviathan are the great unwashed, the ones at the bottom of the pyramid. This is the belters waking up. You've got Caliban's war. Caliban is with Prospero. He's half man, half beast, kind of the. So this is about the war with the belters. And then you've got Abaddon's Gate, which is the hole through which souls fall, which is a great analogy for the rings. And now we've got Chabola Burns, which is people chasing the cities of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had to look
Chabola has been about the haves and the have-nots, and the determination and drive of the have-nots to have. So
okay, I like how you put that. The determination and drive of the have-nots to have. I like that phrasing.
Yeah, you can use it.
It's free.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was going to move us along to the next topic.
You're right about the money aspect and the I think that's.
Was there
I don't know where it's
anything in
going.
production side of this episode that you guys noticed that stood out, good or bad? Music, did it stand out, good or bad? I never really noticed the music on this show, I'll be honest.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't either.
Yeah. It's
I-
very
I-
subtle how they, as I've noted in the past, if you have a conversation between two people, there's typically no music, and then it slowly builds up through the scene until it reaches some sort of crescendo. It doesn't necessarily need to be loud when the scene comes to, or the sequence comes to an end. They have coordinated a lot of the abrasive sounds, or percussive sounds, I'm sorry, to go with a number of events that occur, such as when Amos is flailing out. As I remember, there were some percussive moments to help emphasize that. One of the things we had talked about on the last episode was the lack of such when the flooding occurred. You would expect some sort of grand,
orchestral,
grand noise behind it, and that really wasn't there. But there's a few elements like that in here. I don't know if there's really room for a lot of audio special effects once you get outside of like space battles, or coordinating the sounds, the Foley type sounds. What do we got?
Oh, Winter Lady's saying, what? The score is one of the show's strengths. It's very
And that's
minimalist,
my
but very
point.
powerful.
Yeah, it's very minimalist.
I don't notice it because it's not that it's not there. I think they want you to not notice it. You're supposed to notice this kind of score subconsciously. I think scores are more effective when you notice them subconsciously and not consciously think about them.
Yeah, and
when
that's
you're
how they're
thinking about them, sometimes when you're thinking about them, I think it distracts you from the story itself, from the film or movie or TV show that you're watching.
So
now, it's very much the case with my favorite soundtrack of all time, Lord of the Rings, because it really does distract me from the movie when I'm watching it. I just can't help it. But yeah, I don't disagree at all with Winter's Lady here. I think she's right, and I think because of her being right, that's why I don't notice the music.
Right.
Because it doesn't be like, hey, look at me. No, it's here. This is to enhance what you're watching.
The best use of sound in the entire thing, and it would have been like some person had to go through and do it, is get the clip of the boots in Gravity Lock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For each step people are taking on the outside. Like that was all added in post.
Yep. Yeah. I've been amazed at that for 3 seasons.
Like inserting each of them. So there's
I've been amazed at for seasons watching this, and like that's a lot of Foley work when people walk around when they're on the float.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it just occurred to me that that's someone's full-time job, man. Like
yeah. And they
that's
get it
what
down
I noticed about sound.
And they get it down to the point where even an off-camera person, you can hear the clip of them walking.
You can hear them coming. Yeah.
Yep.
You can hear multiple people walking at the same time. It's just, it's some incredible work that they do. All right. Where are we at, guys? All right. Who would you say is your choice for favorite actor or in this episode? Don't need to give a least favorite, but who would you call your favorite actor for the episode? Bill, let's start with you.
For the first time ever, I am going to say Stephen Strait as Holden.
Okay.
I think this episode in particular you could feel his frustration as everything was spiraling into freaking everybody being blind and, not having an answer to why aren't I blind. You could feel that frustration. You could feel his desperation for Amos. And the scenes he had with Amos, the first time he cracked a joke that actually made me laugh when he tells Amos, "Well, I can tell people I took you in a fight now."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
like-
funny. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, did you also get the impression, I think he established it like right at the very beginning of the episode, how utterly tired he was as well?
Yes, particularly when he's woken up by Miller the first time in the compartment. Is that the beginning of this episode or the episode before?
No, previous episode, I think.
Previous.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a previous.
Yeah, they're all starting to run together.
Yeah, I think this
But-
episode opened with him just whacking at some, the slugs on a wall or something.
Yeah.
The first scene is Ava Sorrello's beginning of her day. And then the first
Yeah.
scene with Holden is him disposing of that belter who got killed by a death slug.
Yeah,
And then he looks at the
that's right.
walls and ceilings.
Yep.
I did a breakdown of scene by scene on a text file here, so I could remember the episode better.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I've got it written down, well, sequence by sequence, and I just kind of summarize all the scenes within it.
So I've got two favorite characters, but that's because they're
Actors.
together. Drummer and Ashcroft.
Mhm.
Like we
I
saw
like
the
Drummer
thing
and Ashford.
where Ashcroft's looking at its child, its grandchild, or something on the tape, on the playback, and he's remembering something. Like we're getting them emoting. Drummer actually expresses things. I thought that interaction where she quits, he refuses the post to go hunting the terrorist. Then
Yeah.
she goes on the ship to offer him the whiskey. And then she leaves with it. And the old man's going to die, like that's written in the stars now. Like in a blaze of glory, like he would have wanted. So I just really liked their interactions together and playing opposite each other. So I want to include the two of them together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not going to tell you what happens.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
that's the idea. Like, I'm not here to I've watched it all. I've watched up to this episode and read the book. So
Okay.
it's
How about you, Mitch? How about you for actors?
I
episode.
usually go for the offbeat ones that do a really, really good job, but I'm going back to Wayne just went dead. Officer Hall. I brought it up earlier. Her memorial speech, the presentation that Chora put together for that character, it was heartfelt. I mean, you could feel it. And I think just for that one scene, she gets my vote this year or this week.
This week, my number 3 was Holden. Was Stephen Strait, So I'm glad Matt brought him, Bill brought him up, because Holden's up there for me. My number 2 was Michael Benyar. Again, he's just, I really like his work as Arjun. I wish, I part of me wishes we had Brian George, who played him the first couple seasons. I would have loved to see what he would have done with this stuff, but Michael Benyar is doing a great job as Arjun Avasarala. But my number 1, and I don't often go with this person, my number 1 this episode was Wes Chatham. I think the work that him and Holden, with all the scenes with him and Holden, and I mean every scene with that Wes did as Amos this episode, I think was just some of the best stuff I've seen him do on the entire run of the show, even counting later seasons. I think this episode was one of Chatham's best episodes, personally. He's got a lot of great stuff next season, but this was a really good episode for him, I think.
I agree. I thought the frustration that he was able to show, the thought of losing his eyesight was so great, or for the character that was so great that he would, throw himself to the slugs. And I think the way Wes sort of did the zombie walk and the reaction to Holden, just flailing out, that's, it's simple and it's beautiful. So I agree with you right there, without a doubt.
All right. Let's see.
I don't think Ben picked his yet, did he?
Yeah, it was drummer and Ashford.
Yep, drummer and Ashford. So, well, Max calls this my favorite question. I don't know. It's just a question I thought we should add. What are some themes that you found to be present in this particular episode, and do they tie into themes from the book at all?
Stop listening. Stop listening to Proto Miller. He's dick. Nothing good happens when you listen to him. That should be the overarching theme.
I'll tell you what happens. Understand. He screams in your brain.
I know,
right?
Oh.
I wrote down that Miller was back and he's making noise.
Yep.
Like, Holden's been hoping for Miller to turn up to get some guidance, to get some help, to get some explanation. And then when he does, Miller glitches. And that's the end of the episode. Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah, all right.
Oh, excuse me, guys. I hope I don't make you guys yawn. I need coffee. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yep.
Like, in the book, they're listed as intermissions, and all the Miller parts start with it reaches out, it reaches out, it reaches out.
It reaches out.
Yep.
113 times a second, it reaches out.
And I think in the book, that's really setting up and explaining how the proto-molecule reforms Miller to talk to Holden type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's gathering information, and then we get an interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't really seen that explained in the show, really, I don't think.
It's explained even worse in the book.
Yeah.
The book is not very forthcoming as to what is going on. It's almost like the book chapters around the investigator are just a nebulous collection of, I try this, there's nothing there. I try that, there's nothing there. I go away. I come back. That's all it seems to be. Very, very weird.
No, it's not explained, but it's shown. So, yeah, I just thought at the end with Miller glitching, it made me think it was reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, it's a connection to it reaches out, it reaches out, it reaches out. Yeah, thought it was.
Yeah.
My thing is, why do you keep listening to it? Nothing good ever happens. Nothing good ever fucking happens. How many times you got to be bit by the same fucking dog, before you say, you know what? Let me not stick my arm in front of that dog.
Yeah. I like the analogy.
The theme that really stood out for me was it's kind of paired with its opposite, but I would say hopelessness, and it's opposite of hope. the people stuck on Illis right now, they're feeling a lot of hopelessness. They're going blind. They don't understand that. They don't realize that there's going to be a cure coming soon for them. Everything, they're dying. They're physically okay right now, except for being blind, but they are dying because there's only so much food and water left for them on this planet, and they can't get any more from orbit. You've got the people on Earth that are feeling, on Mars, I mean, that are feeling hopeless about the future of the Mars terraforming project when they've got, these planets to go to. There's this hopelessness some in the know, or those who have thought about it, must be feeling when they realize that Mars is dying. But at the same time, you've got hope, where the characters in orbit around Illis, have found a way to give themselves hope that they might survive a little bit longer. And that's all they're trying to do. And they even say, we've pushed it back a few hours. We've bought ourselves a little more time. They keep buying themselves a little more time. And that's helping them keep the hope alive that they'll survive this in the long run.
I thought that was a very nice line from Naomi about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really didn't pay attention enough for other themes. That one, that pair of themes just kind of stood out, the counterpoint themes of hope versus hopelessness. Do you pick anything out this week, Mitch?
I just made a note to myself. I don't know if it's necessarily a theme, but it's bringing humanity's problems with them wherever they go.
That's funny, because when my wife was about halfway through where we're at now, she's like, this show should really be called Humans Suck. And I'm like, you got a point. You got a solid point. It should be called Humans Suck.
Right.
Yep. So it's not really a theme, but it's just an observation that I get. And this particular episode brings it home because, they were at rock bottom. We get past our problems. We are capable of doing that, but they're generally problems of our own making.
So this humans obviously bring our trouble with us. What the show
Rats in trouble
did do was it showed the attack upon the Rossi's core, showed a little spark of proto-molecule going in, and the beads start dropping out. And that was all that we kind of saw. Funnily enough, the shuttle going down to the planet and blowing up surprised me in the book, and then it surprised me again in the show.
Mm.
I can't work out how it surprised me in both of them.
Well, with enough difference between them, you never know if they're actually going to have the same thing in both. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But thematically, like, this is the nadir. The ships were going to crash. The people were going to die blind in a cave. The Marines down there are going to go batshit crazy and start shooting people that they can't see. Like, it all could have gone horrendously wrong. But there's sunlight. The ships aren't immediately going to crash, and Miller's back. So there's hope for the future, Bill.
Yeah, Miller is not a fucking sigil of hope at all. He is because we are only in the situation because of Proto Miller. He is the reason we are where we are when this episode starts.
So you're saying you're not a fan of Miller, Tom?
No.
Is that it?
Oh my God. No, Proto Miller is just god off. I mean, regular Miller was a little annoying. Proto Miller is just downright mean. I'm like, seriously, could you at least, lead Holden to something good one time? Yeah, you really want to mess him up.
I mean,
Get
the
occasional
ring
good-
gates opening 1,203 ring gates, 1,200 some odd new worlds to us, 1,300 new worlds. That's a good thing.
We
Might
have
not be a
no
good
idea
thing
if
for
that's
Mars.
maybe it's not. We don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe it really isn't. What
Be
if every
careful
planet
what you
they
wish
opened
for,
up
you
to,
might just get it. Yeah.
yeah, maybe every planet they open to has a proto molecule on it.
I would
Willis
imagine
does.
they all would.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So it's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, the proto molecule is not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on what stage of it you catch and at what point you get in contact with it. If it's at the point where the proto molecule is building a bridge, building the road, you have a fucking problem. But if you're at the point it is right now, it's not doing nothing to you. It's pretty much inert except for the technology. It's not like biological anymore. So at this point, there's no threat from the proto molecule.
I wonder if Julie Mao would accept that.
No,
Oh wait, she can't. She's fucking dead.
She's gone. That's
No,
the
she's
difference in-
assimilated. She's been assimilated.
assimilated, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a totally different version of the proto molecule than
Well,
what is present.
Yeah, but
in
if they
extent
encounter
right
a
now.
new one on each planet, it's going to be at that stage. So imagine.
What do you think that
1,000
ruin?
plus
What do you
Julie
think that big horn-shaped ruin is? It's proto molecule.
But
That's
well,
exactly
it
what
was,
that is.
it
No
was
idea.
built by
No idea.
that technology somehow. But here's the thing: Holden believes that him bringing Miller to the planet is what has started this series of events on the planet.
On the show.
Yes. Holden has said a few times
Holden
now it's my
believes
fault.
that, but
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
true? For example, was the awakening of the planet triggered by the violence that the saboteurs did when they blew up the landing pad?
No,
Is it?
no, absolutely not.
No.
No.
And in the books,
Well-
there is a hint as to why. And this has not yet been revealed in the show. But there is a reason why everything turned back on. It's in the books, but not yet in the show. So I'm not going to reveal
Yeah.
it.
In the show, what turned everything back on was cutting that root out.
Yeah,
When Miller took him down, that was what turned it back on in the show. I don't
Right.
offhand remember how it starts in the book, though. I honestly don't remember how it started off in the book.
Actually, I think Miller just goes off on his merry way, and there is
Oh, wait.
no early interaction. Miller basically says, "Thanks for the ride," and
Everything was
gone.
awake on its own. Everything was awake on its own then.
well, I think Miller's turning it on.
I don't
I
know,
think,
I'll-
I think
I'll have
he
to
is
read
the
the
actual
beginning of the
key.
book.
Yeah, as I remember, he's kind of like the one fiddling around, trying to turn things off and on and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So my
Because he
reason
needs
for
to.
asking is because, like in the books, and this is kind of where we get to know Ware a little bit, they go out and they kill, and then they use flammables to burn an awakening machine.
Mhm.
That's right.
So
Way does that.
the more violence they do to the machines, to the planet, the more it turns on with
Now,
bigger and bigger responses each time.
Is that what you're proposing?
No, I'm saying that Holden firmly believes that him bringing Miller started the process.
Mhm.
I'm not as certain as he is, and I posit that as an alternate possibility.
Oh, okay.
I don't actually think that. I think it's Miller, right? But
it's Miller.
Yeah, but you also have to remember too.
so this
that,
problem wouldn't occur on any of the other worlds because Miller wouldn't be there.
No,
Miller's there specifically because the Rossi is there.
Well, here's the thing. Do you have any idea how many Millers exist in the universe? How many idiots are like, "Ooh, what's this button do?" We have a huge amount of those. It is going to happen on every planet. Somebody's going to find it and go, "Ooh,
Yeah.
what's this do?"
Perhaps.
The military
Eventually,
science fiction series I'm reading right now, Marines are specifically watched over by naval officers on like watching their heads-up display, their camera, to make sure that the Marines don't push buttons on other ships that they're not supposed to when they raid ships, because apparently the Marines have a habit of like, what's this button? Boom, boom,
Okay.
So yeah, you said that and it just made me think of the books I'm reading right now.
Now, is that
The Lost Fleet by Jack Campbell.
Is that sub-ether communication? Otherwise, there's going to be a time delay.
Well, it wasn't. There's no time delay when the ship's not that far away from you.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
you were talking about like Marines dropping from the ship and doing something in the immediate
boarding
vicinity.
action on another. Yeah, Marines boarding another ship.
Okay, I get it.
They're still within range that they can. If there's any time delay communicating, it's like a second or two. But it's pretty good.
That takes me back to the old TV days when they used to say, "Don't touch that dial."
Yeah. Right. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up tonight?
Oh, goodness. Hold on.
Check your notes.
No, okay. This episode overall was really enjoyable. Like I said, I had some moments I loved. Most of it I liked.
Oh, what were the ones that you really loved? I've forgotten what those were.
Pretty much anything with Holden and Amos.
Oh, okay. Oh,
That whole thing. Yeah, that was my moments.
Did I skip you? I'm sorry, I skipped you. I didn't mean
No,
to.
it's not a big deal.
He brought it up.
All right. I thought.
I just brought it up earlier than the question, which is why I didn't jump in. I'm like, I already answered this one, so that's why I don't need to answer this one.
Oh, Winter's Lady, did you quote from The Hitchhiker's Guide?
With this one?
I think that's from The Hitchhiker's Guide. And book one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Ben, for staying up today and joining us this evening or this morning for you. Early afternoon now, I think, isn't it? It's early afternoon. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for reading and watching this stuff. Mitch, thank you as always for joining us on this little voyage. And Bill, whatever. Thanks for helping out, man. You give me somebody to argue with.
I can feel the love.
Glenn is just jealous about the mustache.
Yeah.
I wish I could grow that. No, I don't. Thank you, Winter's Lady and Chronic Viking, and everybody else that was stopped in and chat. It's been watching us live. Please leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you already haven't. And hey, if you're watching this on replay, leave us some comments. Tell us what you think. Tell me where I'm wrong. I like being told I'm wrong. So
it's his kink. He's not.
I just enjoy it.
Lay into him if you have to. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, just be absolutely brutal if you have to. But yeah, come back next week as we discuss episode 409. Let me find the title here just to make sure I got it clear.
It's a ripper.
Seculum. Seculum. Saeculum. I don't remember what that means offhand. I just saw that the other day.
I do. It's a period of time.
That's what I thought. I knew it had. I thought it had something to do with time. It's the equivalent of a human lifetime. It's about one human lifetime.
So the Romans had a couple of generations, which is a human lifetime. So
yeah.
Okay.
And I do know it was. It's pronounced seculum because of what I just watched the other day. That was telling me about that. So, we'll be discussing that next week. And thanks for watching. Please come back and let me find my outro. Have a good night and don't forget to be awesome.
Bye all.
sleep well and wake.